So you're thinking about moving to Dunedin, but you want to know the pros and the cons, the good and the bad, the ugly, the really great, before you decide to make a move. Well, that's completely understandable. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you exactly that. So let's go. Hey, if this is the first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about the St. Petersburg, Tampa Bay area, then subscribe below and tap that bell for notifications so you'll be the first to know about the current market here in the Tampa Bay area. My name is Gina. My partner Eric and I have been helping people just like you move to the Tampa Bay area for the last 11 years, and we absolutely love it. So whether you're looking to move in 3 months or as little as 3 days, give us a call, send us a text or an email. All of our information is in the description below. We would love to help you make a very stress-free move to the Tampa Bay area. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so today's video is all about the pros and cons of Dunedin. And you know what? I have to say, this was actually a pretty hard list to come up with, the cons for, because Dunedin is such an adorable place to live, in my personal opinion. It has a quaint downtown. It's close to so many things. It's close to the water, Honeymoon Island. It literally encompasses everything that you would think of when you came to Florida. You have the warm weather. You have, like I said, the quaint little downtown with shops and a walking trail and restaurants. And then like 2 seconds away from that is the waterfront, a park. You have historic homes, a 5-minute walk away. And then up north, you have the whole Pinellas County Trail. You have the Art Center. You have golf. I mean, literally everything is in Dunedin. So when I put together this list of pros and cons, I had to really kind of think, what would I consider a con for Dunedin? But you know what? I came up with some pretty good ones that I think are the pros and cons of Dunedin. If you live in Dunedin now, or if you've been to Dunedin and maybe you have a couple that I didn't mention, I would love to hear them. So throw them in the comments below. But otherwise, let's get into what I think are the main pros and cons of Dunedin. Okay, so you want to know the pros and the cons of living in Dunedin, Florida. So without delay, we're just going to jump right in to these pros and cons. Now, I have an equal list of pros and cons, but I will say that my cons, some of them are a little bit of pros. It all depends on who you are, what your lifestyle is like, and what you're looking for. So let's get into the first one. Number one, pro. Dunedin is close to so many amazing outdoor activities. You will not have anything to not do. We're talking about biking, walking through trails, bird watching, going to the beach, taking a boat to a private island. We're talking about shops, restaurants. You're near Clearwater. You're close to the bridges that will take you to Tampa and everywhere else around the Tampa Bay area. So really, Dunedin is like a central area. You are close to literally everything. It just depends on what you want to do. You want to take a day out on the water, or at least go to the beach, you're like 5 minutes from the water, give or take where you live. If you live on the east side of Dunedin, you might be like 10, 15 minutes away, depending on traffic and things like that. But literally, you're in an excellent spot for if you want to make a run to the store, if you want to go to a nice restaurant, if you just want to go to a casual restaurant, if you need to go shopping, there's multiple malls around there. There's also the cute area downtown if you have family visiting or anything like that and you want to just take a quaint walk through downtown, you have that. If you love going out on the water for boating, you have the yacht area over there where you can either store your boat or you can go and rent boats down there. You have a park. You also have like the whole Dunedin Trail that goes from Clearwater to Dunedin, where you can take beautiful walks, see the scenery, see the water, the birds, the wildlife in the ocean, all of that. Plus, like I mentioned before, you have Honeymoon Island, which is one of the most famous places to go in Dunedin. It's well known for its amazing beaches. You can go hiking out there. Hiking, I say that because I'm originally from somewhere on the West Coast, where hiking to me means like going straight up a mountain. But hiking in Florida is slight hills, but mainly it's just flat. So don't be too worried about the word hiking if you hear it come out of my mouth when I'm telling you about a place. But when I say hiking, I'm thinking trees. You're in like different terrain. You have the ability to see a lot of different wildlife, just beauty surrounding you. It's quiet. It's just a nice place to go and kind of relax. You can take your dogs, you can walk by yourself. Any of those things, that's available on Honeymoon Island. Like I mentioned, you also have the famous beach, which lines the whole island. And if you want to get a little wild and crazy, you can take a kayak and take yourself over to Kalidisi Island, which is the private island on the top of Clearwater. I did mention that in our maps video, which you can check out right over here. And that, I would say, in a whole, that is the pro of Dunedin. Like I said, it's just you have everything at your fingertips, and it's only about 10 to 15 minutes away max. But let's get into pro number 2. Dunedin is affordable. Now, of many places within the Tampa Bay area, especially along the water, I wouldn't necessarily call it affordable, depending upon what your price point is. But for the average person looking to live in the Tampa Bay area that has, either a 2-income household or a 1-income household and just wants to enjoy life and not be overstretched, or just doesn't have a lot of income to put towards living, Dunedin is very affordable. You can find places anywhere that range from like 300,000, of course, all the way up to over 5 million. But as far as affordability goes, it is a huge range for everybody. It is one of the most affordable areas actually in the whole Tampa Bay area. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're thinking about Dunedin. Let's talk about pro number 3. I would say pro number 3 is that Dunedin has a lot of culture. And when I say that, what I mean is you have anything from sports, as far as like golf, you can hike, you can bike, you can do all those types of things. You can be out on the water. You can also visit a lot of the art centers that are in slightly north of downtown. There's a lot of art centers there. You can see outdoor art centers. You can go inside and see more cultural types of work within the art center building that's actually in Dunedin. And then you have the downtown, which Dunedin is one of the oldest cities in Pinellas County. So when you come to Dunedin, there's a lot of older architecture, and it's an amazing place to just kind of like take in that older architecture, the beauty of the downtown area, because it's been left in a very preserved way. And so it's quaint, it's cute, it's more quiet. It's not a hustle and bustle area. I'll get to the part where it is a hustle and bustle area in a minute. But it's a quaint, nice area where you can just kind of like take in the scenery around you and enjoy everything that the culture of Dunedin has to offer. Dunedin once had a lot of Scottish influence, so you will see that sometimes spread throughout Dunedin. So if you're Scottish, you may notice something that you can relate to. There's also Scottish games that happen in Dunedin once or twice a year, which is always fun to go to. So it's definitely cultural, and I would give that part a thumbs up. Let's talk about pro number 4. Pro number 4 is, of course, the Pinellas Trail. And the reason why I mentioned that as a pro is because it literally goes right through downtown Dunedin. So if you like to get outside, because who doesn't in Florida? It's beautiful, it's sunny, it's amazing weather, except for a few months in the summer when it's not as amazing, unless you love hot, humid weather. You can access the Pinellas Trail, and there are always people biking, walking. I mean, you will never find that trail empty. And it does stretch all the way down through Clearwater, and it keeps going down the Pinellas County like beach area, and it also goes all the way up. So you have a ton of access and availability to doing outdoor activities. And I would say that that's a really cool pro. Okay, now we're gonna get into the cons. But I'm gonna preface this with saying this might be a pro-con. A pro-con? Can I call it that? I call it a con, but it could be a pro. And it depends on, like I said before, your lifestyle and what you're looking for. So here it is. The first con, pro-con. Dunedin has a slower pace of living. And what I mean by that is that it's not like a hustle and bustle city, like a St. Petersburg or a Tampa or something like that, where there's just a lot going on, a lot of traffic, a lot of people. It's more of a retiree type of community, a family type of community. I wouldn't say slow as in there's not a lot to do. It's just people are enjoying their time there. They're taking their time. It's not going to be somewhere where you would go to have this wild, crazy day, night, and feel overwhelmed where you have to go take a break. It's a place where you want to go to sort of take the scenery in, take the peacefulness of life in, and just enjoy your day. So, like I said, depending on who you are, that could be a pro or a con. I personally love Dunedin for that, so there you go. Let's go to con number 2. It's touristy in tourist season, meaning Dunedin is a very huge place on people's list for visiting. And in high tourist season, it can get pretty crowded downtown, and especially on Honeymoon Island and the bridge to Honeymoon Island and all along Dunedin coastline. A lot of people come to visit. So if you do live in Dunedin, you will notice at certain times of the year that it's going to be a little bit more traffic. You're gonna have a lot more congestion on the beaches, or if you like to fish, you're gonna have a lot more people out there who don't necessarily know what they're doing. You're just gonna see a lot more people downtown. There's gonna be obviously less parking because Dunedin isn't a place where they have huge parking garages. It's, small street parking and things like that. So just to keep in mind, it is a high tourist area, unlike some of the other areas in Dunedin. If you do live on the outskirts of Dunedin, you're not going to see that as much as if you live closer to downtown. And like I mentioned before, once again, I'll tell you once again, in case you missed it, check out the maps video because we go into the different areas of Dunedin, and that will really help you identify where I'm talking about as well if you're not familiar with the area. Okay, ready for con number 3. Dunedin, as I mentioned, is an older town. And because it's an older town that has been preserved to stay an older town, it doesn't necessarily have a lot of large corporations that have taken place and rooted into the area. So with that said, the job availability for being part of a large corporate job isn't going to happen in Dunedin. Now, with that being said, there are jobs available, plenty. There are jobs available on the outskirts of Dunedin. You're just not going to find these in Dunedin like you would in other areas. So that's just to keep in mind. If you are a part of a large corporation and you're moving and you want to live in Dunedin, I'd still say it's a great place to live. Just keep in mind that you're going to have to travel outside of Dunedin, most likely, to get to wherever your corporation is. Now, with that being said, it's 2023 at the time of this filming. And I mean, we live in a world now where everybody works from home a lot of the time. So if you have that option, then you don't have to worry about that. You should definitely consider Dunedin as one of your places to move. Okay, we're gonna talk about con number 4. And con number 4 is a 2-parter. Can I do that? I think I'm allowed to do that. So I'm gonna do it. It's a 2-parter. And as a con number 4, what I wanna mention is that a con might be insurance costs. Over the recent years, because of some of the hurricanes that have been a little too close to Tampa, and what we've been seeing in Florida in general with the changes in the weather and global warming and all that kind of stuff, we just have seen insurance costs go up a lot. So because of this, you're looking at just increased costs for that, and it's probably not heading down anytime soon. So that's just something to keep in mind. The second part about that is because Dunedin is near the water, you have to consider where in Dunedin you might want to live. If, of course, you live on the water or very near the water, you're going to have higher insurance costs because of flooding, storm surge, hurricanes, sea level rise, all of that. That's kind of typical for anywhere around Florida that's near the water. But if you live inland, you don't have to worry about that as much. It's just something to keep in mind if you're more coastal. And if you do want to get a little more into detail about this, you can look up the Florida flood map. And on there, you will see that Dunedin, especially downtown Dunedin and a little bit above downtown Dunedin, is a huge flood surge area. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you're a little bit more east in Dunedin, it's not going to be as much of something that you have to be concerned with. I would say that on average, that doesn't happen. Maybe if we have a huge hurricane that comes through and we have that storm surge and it comes, into the area to where we have to worry about that, that's when you're going to have to take that into consideration. That recently happened, but to be honest, it hasn't happened for the past 10, 15 years or more. Tampa Bay really doesn't get hit with hurricanes. Now, I'm not going to say it never does because you never know, knock on wood, but just something to take into consideration. It could be a con. So those are my pros and cons about Dunedin. I would love to hear if you agree with any of them, if you maybe know of another one that you think I should have mentioned, throw them in the comments below down here. I would love to see them. And if you have any questions, always reach out to us. Like I mentioned, our contact information is in the description below, and we would love to hear from you to help you make a smooth move to the Dunedin area if you decide that Dunedin is your place to be.